Hi everybody, this is Dan Stolbarger and welcome to this week's KFIR Middle East Update. It's the week of December 16th and first things first, season's greetings, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. I trust and pray that this would be a season that would be merry and bright for you all, even in the midst of the darkness that seems to be a rising tide. So let's continue to be praying and be lights shining in the darkness. Let me also encourage you to share KFIR with your friends. A good gift for Christmas is to sign someone up who you think would be interested in what we're all about. That is the Word of God, prayer, and really understanding the Middle East. So with all that in mind, let's take a look at the issues of the day or of the week. A senior level Palestinian delegation that's headed by the chief negotiator Saeb Iraq is set to arrive in the U.S. this week in an effort to pressure the Obama administration into making sort of last-minute diplomatic moves against Israel before the president leaves office in a few weeks. We've been tracking this over the past few weeks, and we'll be talking a little bit more about that in this report, but stay tuned. The whole thing with the Secretary of State, Trump's pick of Tillerson, he's got ties to the Gulf, but not so much with Israel. So his choice is going to be very interesting to see with his ties to the Middle East and yet very little experience with Israel. And finally, we can't keep our eyes closed to the disaster that's taking place in Aleppo. Assad and his allies are committing tremendous war crimes while the U.S. stands idly by. The Obama administration is watching as the Russian, Syrian, and Iranian axis commits unprecedented massacre, even by Middle East standards. Once again, to be aware, to be in prayer, and at least to be sharing one's perspective with others when we live in an age that so much is either not reported or reported with strong bias, usually anti-Israeli. We call this again our Obama Kerry Abbas watch. As we mentioned, the Palestinians are preparing a new Security Council draft report, and the aim is to win UN approval before Obama leaves office. It has been long-standing U.S. policy for years that any resolution to the conflict should come from direct negotiations between the parties and not be imposed from the outside. However, speaking last week at the Saban Forum in Washington, Kerry did not completely rule out the possibility that the U.S. would support a move at the United Nations. It is a mess, this whole Middle East, and to believe that we have a peace partner with Iran, that's insanity. To think that there's a possibility of a two-state solution is just crazy. The Arabs have no intention of living in peace with the Jews. When the former president of Egypt, Nassar, was asked, why do you continue to fight Israel after so many defeats? His answer was simply this, and we need to hear this because I think this is truth. Because we need to only win one war. Make no mistake, the Arabs' aim is the total destruction of Israel. And as I mentioned, Iran, they've come out and threatened, of all places, Tel Aviv. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani said on Tuesday that because the, quote, Zionist regime and its supporters have paved the way for terrorism, can you believe this, from Iran, paved the way for terrorism throughout the Middle East, causing Muslim states to be preoccupied with their own internal woe. The only recourse for the Palestinians will be to claim and have a jihad against Tel Aviv. Again, this is the news from the news agency FARS. And, I don't know how many times we hear this statement that's made that, it's important when your enemy's making these sort of claims that you actually listen to them. Well, on a positive note, Israel's F-35s, they've named them the Adir, which means mighty. There's 2 of them that have arrived in Israel. They're described by the senior IAF official as a game-changing development. The Israeli Air Force, it was on Monday evening that they received their first 2 of a total of 17 that over the years will be delivered to them. And Lockheed Martin official in Israel said to CNN, if you compare the F-35 to the F-16, which Israel has right now, it's like comparing the iPhone 7 to a flip phone. So again, the strength of Israel in the midst of the Middle East has not only been the heart and soul of the Israeli Defense Forces, but the supremacy of the air, the IAF. I'm going to let you read this on your own. It's called Both Sides of Amona. Again, we have friends in Israel, not just all right-wing. You're going to see a comment that basically starts off by saying, not another Gush Katif. That's when Israel left Gaza, left that vibrant community to see it just squandered by the Palestinians. And now what do we have in Gaza these days? And then that's a viewpoint in a sense from the right. And on the middle left, a friend of mine, you'll read his thoughts as well. So I'll leave that to you. And then just some quotables for this week. I like to include a couple quotes that just make us think. I call it quotables-Selah, which, as you know, Selah means to pause and reflect. So 3 things to think about. History teaches us that men and nations behave wisely only after they've exhausted all other alternatives. Think about it. And then a Yiddish proverb, the heart sees better than the eye. And finally, truth lives long and yet never grows old. Just some things to think about this week. Comments from the Torah. Our Torah portion is something I wrote called Loving Leah. And with that kind of wraps up this week's Middle East Update. Once again, we wish you all the best. We do have some tours that are coming up this spring. One is February 1 through the 7th, having to do basically for pastors, church leaders, and emerging church leaders. Go to our website at holygroundexplorations.com and check that out. And then we are just putting together, the flyers haven't been finalized yet, but we do have a tour that's coming up, Journey Through Israel, April 23rd into May, with an extension to Poland. We're calling that our Sound of Silence experience. And so once again, stay tuned to all of that. Please be praying for Holy Ground. We thank you for your support and we wish you the best. Shalom.